Morning, all. We continue our journey through the Central Division and we end up with Chicago now. Chicago clearly signaling this is the start of a rebuild. The problem is, if you're a Hawks fan, it's felt like a rebuild for about half a decade now, and just they wouldn't acknowledge it. So they're in a position now where they're finally acknowledging they need to strip things down. But some of the decisions they're making are odd, since DeBrincat and Doc are two younger players who got moved out. But hey, we'll see how things turn out. 2017-2018 was really the beginning of where they needed to do the rebuild, but they wouldn't admit it. 33, 39, and 10 was their record. They were 22nd in both goals for and goals against. 2018-2019, they were 36, 34, and 12, 84 points. And that's right in that gray area where a general manager can look and say, hey, we weren't that far off. A couple of changes made, a couple of those one-goal games go our way instead of the other way. And you can justify keeping things as they are. And they were 8th in goals for, so the goal scoring was fine, but they were 30th in goals against. 2019-2020, they were 32, 30, and 8. They were 18th in goals for and 21st in goals against. But the NHL expanded the playoffs. They had the play-in round, and they knocked off the Oilers. So they got into the playoffs. They got taken out by Vegas in said playoffs. But again, you could look and say, hey, there's reason for hope here. 2020, 2021, they finished 24, 25, and 7 in all divisional play. They were 16th in goals for and 24th in goals against. So last year, the team said, all right, we're going to go out, we're going to get Seth Jones, we're going to get Marc-Andre Fleury in net. We're not giving up anything for Fleury. And to their credit, they did get an asset back for Fleury when they traded him at the deadline. So they got more for him than Vegas did. But last season was a complete unmitigated disaster right out of the gate. They finished 28, 42, and 12 on the season. They were 28th in goals for and 26th in goals against. So they couldn't score, they couldn't keep the puck out of their net. And that's with DeBrincat. That's with DeBrincat leading this team in goals. And now he's gone. He's off to Ottawa. And so are we going to see a drop back in Kane's numbers? Because who's he passing the puck to, right? So their best month on the season was November. They went 7-5. That's the month they were above 500. Their worst month was right out of the gate. October, they were 0-7-2, which means at the end of November, they were 7-12-2. And I remember some arguments with Hawks fans who said, hey, now that they've made a change behind the bench and Collins out, they have a chance. There's lots of time. And it just didn't work out. So the exits, it's a long list. Brett Connolly's bought out. Alex DeBrincat's traded. Kevin Lankinen's gone. Kirby Dach is gone. Dylan Strome is gone. A lot of these players are in their 20s, which is what makes it weirder to me, because usually when you're doing a rebuild, you keep the guys in their 20s and you trade out the guys in their 30s. Dominic Kubalik, Calvin DeHaan, Colin Delia, a lot of players, right? So we'll see how this turns out for them this season. The new faces in the lineup, Andreas Athanasiou, Max Domi, Jack Johnson. They're also over here as expiring contracts. So Chicago is now the land of, do you want to come in for a year? We'll probably trade you at the deadline. Peter Mrazek and Alex Stalock have been added. That's your tandem in net as well. And it kind of feels almost like a Buffalo situation from last season, where you look at their goaltending and say, wow, they're Craig Anderson, Carter Hutton. I guess that's what they're going with. And with Peter Mrazek, Alex Stalock, there will be that same feeling of, I guess that's what they're going with. Mrazek needs to bounce back from what was a nightmare season for him last year. He needs to stay healthy as well. Again, it's all about trying to build up your value so that, in all likelihood, Chicago ends up moving the player out and gets some assets back. Now, down the middle, they still have Jonathan Toews. And, of course, there's going to be Toews watch all year. There's going to be Kane watch all year as well. Max Domi was added. Again, it's a one-year deal. Jujhar Khaira, Mackenzie Entwistle, shown as depth down the middle on cap friendly. But this team's going to struggle, and this team is set up to struggle because that number one draft pick looks really good next year. So their top four defense, I honestly put the whole top six because we'll see how it shakes out. Honestly, you can make an argument for any of these six defensemen as the top four, and a few of them as being in that bottom two. So Jake McCabe, Seth Jones. Seth Jones' contract kicking in. Jones needs to have a really good season right out of the gate. He really does. For that contract, it's a big one. It is a contract that is going to be around for a while. So Jones needs to have that bounce back. Jack Johnson, who of course just signed, Connor Murphy, and then you've got Riley Stillman and Caleb Jones. And that's why I wrote all six, because I could see Stillman and Jones ending up with more ice time than Jack Johnson or Connor Murphy. Again, it all depends on how everything works out and how they deploy their players and how new coach Luke Richardson sees things. I am very happy that Luke Richardson's finally getting a head coaching opportunity in the NHL. Sadly, I don't think we're going to get to see just how strong of a coach he can be, because there's a limited amount that he can do with this roster. Kyle Davidson, of course, is the general manager, and there's been some negativity towards Davidson at points here, but I think people understand what he has to get done. It's not going to be easy. Now, with the channel vote, 2% of the channel is wrong, have voted for Chicago to be first or second, and that's on both channels. On the hockey channel, 3% have voted for them to be third or fourth. I guess there's a chance you can cobble things together, and if they're hot out of the gate, and if Mrazek channels his inner Jacques Plante, maybe. But yeah, that 5% of the channel that has them in the top four, probably going to be wrong. It's only 1% on the entertainment guy that voted for them to be third or fourth. 14% of the main channel has them fifth or sixth. 5% of the entertainment guy has them fifth or sixth. 82% of the channel has them seventh or eighth. And on the other channel, it is 91% out of 586 votes on the entertainment guy, whereas on the main channel, 25,000 plus votes. So again, when I'm putting up these polls, certain teams definitely get more votes than others. The Stanley Cup odds, hey, if you're an optimist and you believe they're going to be first or second division, if you actually believe it and you're not just trolling, who am I to judge? Yeah, $100,000. If you put down 100, great. It's if you want to throw away, I mean, gambling eventually ends up being throwing away money anyways. So I guess sure. It's about the same odds as winning the Powerball in the States or the Lotto Max here in Canada. Cap space, they do have that. That's one thing about getting rid of everybody. You have cap space to bring guys in. $7,540,704 according to Cap Friendly. I love that it ends in 704. I just, that's fantastic. So yeah, this is a team that it's going to be interesting to see what the roster ends up looking like. You'll notice that I don't have a lot of kids on the roster. I don't think there's going to be. I think the plan is going to be a simple one of have veterans out there. They sign enough guys, they can fill up the roster. Don't worry about this year. And for kids and prospects, let them develop in the minors. Let them stay in college. Let them develop in juniors. We'll worry about how bad this is going to be for this year and make sure that the players that are involved, we're not hurting their development. They're not young kids. Maybe that's why you trade Doc into Brinket. Well, they're young. We don't want them here for this. So, breakthrough candidates, there's not going to be a lot. So I went with both guys out of Tampa, because why not? It is very common for players to leave Tampa Bay and end up scoring. Taylor Radish and Boris Kachuk are the two that they got for Brandon Hagel. And I'm just going to say, that deal, at least the way that it looked after the deadline, Radish definitely bounced back with Chicago, and Kachuk looked useful as well. So while Hagel had his offensive struggles, I think it really shows that for Radish, he was going from a team where he wasn't going to get that opportunity. He went to a team where he did, and it made a difference. For Hagel, he went from a team where he was really important and he was a goal scorer to one where he was more of a support player, and the stats back that up. So again, Kyle and Luke are going to be in charge of this. Luke behind the bench. I wish him all the best. Their leader in goals this past season, DeBrincat, 41 goals. Patrick Kane was second with 26. Kane may lead this team in goals this year unless he gets traded. Assists, Kane leads there as well with 66. It is going to be hard for him to get 66 assists this year with the line mates he's going to have. Seth Jones, 46 assists. He, again, I thought had ups and downs. I really think the contract is going to cause people to focus even more on him than they otherwise have been. So, special teams, not that special. 19.2% on the power play, so below league average. 76.2% on the penalty kill, also below league average. for a total of 95.4%. So below 100, not a surprise when a team's 28, 42, and 12. Expiring contracts, they have a few of those. You have Kane and you have Toews. People may have heard their contracts are expiring. They make a lot of money. But as we get closer and closer to the deadline, all your capologists will tell you it becomes easier to move those contracts. Chicago can afford to eat some of those dollars, some of that cap space, in order to facilitate deals. But if they decide at the deadline to move both Kane and Toews, and if they can find takers, that could speed up this process a lot, especially if they get multiple first-round picks, right? And that's possible because Kane is a dynamic player who, I mean, he's getting older, sure, but we haven't seen any fallback yet in terms of his production. And, I mean, we will likely see a drop in production just because there's only so much he can do by himself. Unless he has incredible chemistry with, maybe they put him back with Toews. Maybe they put him with Domi and maybe it works really, really well. But we'll see. And then your other expiring contracts, as previously mentioned, Andreas Athanasiou, a new face, Max Domi, Jack Johnson, also new faces to the roster. So Chicago has a very clear plan. The question really out there is, how long for Kane? How long for Toews? Where do they end up going? Do they manage to move them at the deadline? Do they try to re-sign one or the other? You have to think they're not going to try to re-sign both. And then, you know, if Kane and Toews go, does that extend the amount of time that this rebuild lasts? Does it mean that Chicago is suddenly an undesirable location for free agents to go? It doesn't feel like it's that long ago that everybody wanted to play in Chicago, and now it feels like that has definitely changed with this new direction the organization's going in. But I will say it is one they needed to do. It is just still very strange to give away young assets at a time where you're looking to acquire young assets. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video, and hey, maybe we will see some rookies make this lineup. Maybe it'll be more rookie oriented than it looks, but we'll see. Let me know your thoughts. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.